So today we're going to learn about how to use this image analysis tool to get more out of visuals that we see when we read articles and when we research. So let's go through a step by step using an example about climate change. So I have a link to this article that I'm going to post in the Google form. You're going to see it below. You can pause the video at any time to skim through the article if you feel that helps you get a better understanding of the example I'm about to go through. But I'm going to briefly summarize for you what this article is about. So, this article basically explains how human activities like burning fossil fuels are causing Earth's temperatures to rise. It covers the effect of things like extreme weather and rising sea levels, and it really emphasizes why it's important to limit our global warming from 1.5 degrees Celsius to avoid worse impacts such as stronger hurricanes and storms. So the first thing that you do, of course, when you're reading an article, you go through it, you annotate it, you look for the important information. But for this particular tool that we're using, we want to pay close attention to the images. So I have two images to choose from. I have the one that's kind of red and the one that's blue. I'm deciding to analyze the one that's blue using the tool. So for step one, we are going to observe the graph. And we're going to start by looking closely at the titles, the X, the Y axes, and we're going to also look to see what is happening in here. So I can kind of see that there is a weird trend going on. And let me just move my big head. And we're seeing there's kind of a relatively steady line going on. And then around the 1950s level, it shoots up and it continues climbing. So, in my step one, I'm just going to write my overall observations that I noticed. I'm going to say that in recent times, the carbon dioxide levels have greatly increased. And then I say a specific point that I noticed, right? In 1950s level, they're continuing to rise. Then I talk about the title and what I see in the text. So I'm just going to basically do a quick summary in my own words about what that title is telling me. And I say that the title is telling me that over the last 800,000 years, that there has been a significant increase of the CO2 levels. Let's move on to step two, which is inferences. And inferences is basically what you think. You want to continue applying the knowledge that you know. So I want you to notice how the temperatures increase after the 1950s and think to yourself, oh my God, what could be causing this increase? So you have to think, okay, humans are driving more cars, there's more people, there's more pollution, and all of those things that you can add to your inferences. And then you say, how does this connect with the article? So for me, this supports the article's message that climate change is happening very quickly. It's accelerating due to what us humans are doing. Then you're going to move on to step three, which is an evaluation. So we're going to take a look at how useful we think this is by first stating the purpose of the image. So I just think that the purpose of this image is just to show us what's happening long term to the carbon levels. Then we're going to go into the perspective. So, like, why would they show us this graph? And, like, what is this graph showing us? It's just showing us the CO2 and how it's changing over time. But it's not necessarily showing us the other effects that they talked about in the article, such as rising sea levels. Now, I'm going to think about the reliability and the limitations. So, reliability is how trustworthy something is, and limitations is what did they not do? What else could they have added and represented to make this a stronger argument or make the image even more useful for us? So for this, I said that in general, this is a pretty reliable way to show that trends are happening over time. And as far as the limitations, they could have chose the image that shows like the storms getting stronger, because we know that strong storms are getting stronger, especially since the other day, what was it called? Florida almost came off the earth with Hurricane Irene or somebody like that. Yvonne, I don't know, but they could choose stronger images to support that. Then for your step four, you're going to think about the historical context of it all. So by that, we're talking about if we're going to connect it to our civics issue, right? So think about the big questions. By showing the steady increase of temperature, this highlights that in the long term, What we do as humans affects the planet. And we can use this as evidence to say we need to start more recycling programs. We need to be stricter about getting more wind energy, solar energy, because without it, we're going to have extreme consequences. So what you're going to do now is you're going to look for a article in your next step that deals with our civics issue, and that could be anything on housing stability. And you can use this tool when you see images that you may want to dive into and dissect a little bit more.